Welcome back, listeners and viewers. We are on the sixth episode of the Philosophical Outlook. Once again, we have our very jolly, very lovely co host with us, Nabil Abdul Kadir. Thank you, Nabil, for joining. Yes, you are the jolly from now on. I mean, I know you're
Love
jolly.
Jollibee. I love Jollibee. That's what
Now
happens.
I know you're a really jolly person in real life. I don't know if somebody's coming just from the podcast. He's like, "What is he talking about?" But he's really jolly in real life. But he is also really logical, which is why he's here in the first place. So
They're
Nabil, how do you
anagrams,
feel?
Jolly and Logic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it works together. It works together, right? Jolly and logic. So apparently he's smart too. So Nabil, how are you feeling?
Wow.
That was a
Apparently, I'm
genuine
smart.
compliment. Yeah, that was
Wow.
a genuine
Oh,
compliment. Come on.
thanks. But yeah, yeah. You know how I feel. Sometimes, I feel like I see strangers, and you know what these strangers think. Oh, look at this guy. He's short. He must be dumb. And then we're like,
I
whoa.
have never seen. I've never seen
Apparently he's
somebody.
smart too.
I don't know.
Apparently
I don't
he's
know what kind of. I don't know what kind of judgmental people have you been around. I have never went around seeing somebody. He's short. He must be dumb. That does not happen. I don't know. Maybe you need positive company around you.
well, you're definitely
Anyway.
not well. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's been busy.
Yes.
Aside from being judged by people like you, of course, Salman. I know things things are good. Things are good. Things
I
are good.
have never judged your height in correlation with your intelligence. I judge your height separately. I judge your intelligence separately.
Oh no, sorry. Independently, all right. Not correlated. Okay, it's all
All
independent
right.
judgment. I judge, but it's independent.
I
All
judge.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I am
Uh,
an INTJ.
forgot what that is.
That's the personality type, judgers. Anyways, I don't know. That was one hell of a start. I don't know why we derailed so
Okay.
much.
You know why? You know
But
why? Because
yeah, been a
uh,
while.
yeah, been so busy with projects. Today is a Sunday, but just just left office at 11:20. The only reason why I left is because I wanna, like I hope the police don't catch me. So all the way driving home, I'm like, I hope next day my face won't be in like MOH, like
Oh,
like
11:20 a.m.
11
11:20
no,
p.m.
11 to PM just now.
Oh, I thought in the morning.
No.
Damn, bro.
I'm like, ah, damn. Okay, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. Yeah. So, no, it's been a very hectic. We had this huge project, so I gotta get
Hmm.
it done. I'm like, no matter what happens, I've got to, I've got to, do this project well. I cannot slack because this is the one of the projects where if you slack, like you can easily like screw up.
Oh,
So I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna let anybody mess with me. Like okay, weekends, weekday, week out. Nah, I'm gonna put in the work. I'm not gonna let anyone mess with me. If someone screws up, it's not gonna be me. You know, it's gonna be one of you guys.
it's not
So
on your consciousness. Damn, that sounds very, yeah. Um,
competitive. Like
yeah.
ah, don't mess with me, man. Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
So
it
yeah,
seems it
so
seems like
this
it's
was happening.
something, best of luck with your project, with your work. And I think it's okay. We took a break. And for me also, with all the semester starting and everything, going back to the classes life. So, it's been a transition. So I was like,
By any chance, do you encounter a grass cutter and then you went closer to the grass cutter and the grass cutter is like, who's there? And he's like, and you were like,
that was a very complicated reference to my hairstyle. Okay, yes. I was like, where is this going? Yeah, I mean, it looks good. Yes,
looks
this
good,
is
looks
my
good. Don't worry about it.
back to school look basically. I got a
Now you
haircut.
look your age,
I don't know if that was a
whatever
compliment or
whatever
what.
your age is. Who
but
knows what
but
someone's age is?
but now I look less of a philosopher. So I shift. I shift between when I have classes, I'm the IT guy. I wear my goggles, and when it's off, I'm the philosopher guy. I outgrow my hair, so I shift between these two personalities.
Don't worry. Now you have a chance of getting a girlfriend. You had no
Okay,
chance, but now
okay.
you.
For the record, I'm single by choice. Okay, for the record, just setting the record straight.
That's what they say. That's what they say. That's what they say.
Anyways, uh,
Anyways,
one hell of a, I think we didn't get time to actually catch up, like, so we're just doing it mid podcast. Maybe somebody was like, I want philosophy. It's like, what is going on? But yes, we are going to come back to philosophy, and I was saving this topic for, I was delaying it, in many times we were very on the cross of touching this topic, but then I was like, no, because it requires a dedicated conversation. Once again, this goes for all the episodes of the podcast. These are not like academic essays or something, so take them with a pinch of salt. These are just our views. We're both just avid students of philosophy and logic. So once again, and I'm saying this because this is going to be a complicated topic, and this is why, whatever we're going to talk about is just going to be our views. So let's see how it goes. The basic question that I'm going to boil it down to start the topic is, in very simple words, how do we decide something is wrong, and how do we decide something is right? So the question of morality and ethics in itself is a huge subject within philosophy that requires its dedicated studies. But just for an outlook, I want to see, uh, what if I run across somebody, like, maybe, let me ask you, and assuming that you're not into philosophical literature of ethics, if I ask you, how do you think, where do we get this source of morality? Like, how do we know what is right and what is wrong? So I want to see what your outlook on it be, completely disconnected from philosophical literature, just an average outlook. What would you say, Bill?
I don't know. Yeah, yeah. It's like, okay. Honestly, it's not a simple answer.
Hmm.
Because is it mystical? I don't know. Um,
Oh, okay. It's a good start.
is it mystical? Is it something? But is it just? Is it nothing there? It's just.
Hmm.
And I'm being nihilistic. Maybe there's nothing there. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. It's just like we get days where we're like something's off, right?
Hmm.
Uh, like I have I have food, I have friends, I have everything's good, but something's off. Why is that? So scientifically we feel all the necessary response, yeah, but at the same time we feel something's off. Or for example, when we have a conversation with a friend, and then we're like, what, why is it that something's off with that friend? And then we dissect it, and they're like, oh, maybe it's the way he says it is a bit too creepy. I don't know. It's like, okay, so there's that one aspect of human beings that is a mystery, right? If you've
Okay.
seen the movie Dune, yeah, have you seen Dune?
No.
No. Okay, so okay, any movie mystery, right? Something happens, you're like, what is he move his hands like that? Oh, it's so mysterious. Why is it mysterious? Is it because it's weird? I don't know.
Hmm.
Why are things strange? I don't know. uh, uh, if take a knife and kill you, why is it? I don't know. I don't.
Wrong.
Is it bad? Is it wrong? Does it feel good? Does it? Yeah. So it's like, I think this is something that we discussed before, right? Um, does a baby know what is right or wrong? To be
Okay. Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
I do know how I feel. I do know that when I see people cry, I cry. I can easily cry when I see people cry. I mean, there's a viral video of okay, someone famous in Brunei crying because someone died.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
just put it that way, yeah. But and then seeing her that, I'm like, oh my, like
Hmm. Hmm.
like that. So I know that feeling is true. I know that feeling is true, but there's, at the same time, there might be people that are, let's say, not friends with this person, feeling, oh yeah, yeah, that's right, you deserve to cry. There people have
Hmm.
enemies and all that stuff. So why is that? Why do some people feel that way? Why do some people feel the other way?
Hmm.
Honestly, I don't know. uh, uh,
Yeah,
maybe
I
it's
think this
hate.
is a good outlook. I think it's a good outlook for, for somebody trying to knock on doors that, does not know what the answer is. And I appreciate that. But what I want an outlook on from a day-to-day life's perspective is something like, do you believe that there is something called morality? So the philosophical question is morality a man made construct, or is it something that exists beyond man's or society's creation? How do we deal with morality in daily lives? Do you think that in daily life, human beings interacting and in your personal life experience, would you say that you consider or you relate to morality as okay, yes, this is wrong, or do you almost always go like this is wrong if and if? Do you in your personal life treat morality as a absolute or as something relative?
Mm. I mean, it all depends on the situation, right?
Mhm.
uh, I went through this camp, and there's a story that uh, if you know S1E, he told this story. I don't know where he got it from. It's basically this. So there's this lady that uh, the the lady and the wife, so husband and wife, are living in the woods, something like that. And then the husband has to go, right? The husband has to leave, and then the husband's like, "Don't go anywhere. Stay in this house." And then the lady gets visited by a visit. Let's say plumber, right? I don't know what's the actual role. Let's say plumber. Okay, plumber comes in, and then uh, sees this lady, and then he's attracted to the lady, and then the lady's attracted to him, and they start to do the thingy.
Okay.
All right, and then afterwards, the lady gets like pregnant, and then suddenly the husband is coming home, and then the husband is like, wants to murder, like I should, okay, to be honest, I don't know the exact story, but it goes back to like, who is wrong, or
Okay.
okay, here, okay, regarding pregnancy, right? Regarding pregnancy, okay. So here's the question, right? Is abortion wrong? Is abortion
Okay.
wrong?
Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
on
You
one
you could have
aspect,
led with that. You didn't need the
okay,
plumber example.
like I don't know how he got there. Okay, so abortion, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So serious, right? Okay, so let pretend I'm pregnant now, which I am, right? I have a belly, of course. 3 months already,
8 by Nobel.
3 months. It's been 3 months for uh 13
The
years. Anyways,
lockdown.
no. Anyways, so pregnant. If I give birth, okay,
Okay.
let's say I'm a lady, right? If I give birth, Asian family, strictly Muslim family, they'll be like, especially in an big interconnected family, where
Mhm.
doing this is brings shame to the family, and this child will grow up. Maybe I don't have a stable job. This child will grow up
Mhm.
without a parent, because it's been proven that you need both parents. Children that is
Okay.
born without both parents are not doing well. You need both parents, and then you need stable life. Oh, I mean, I'm good, but what if I'm poor and I have this baby? I'm like, oh my god, why is that? So
Mhm.
okay, so I'll have an abortion. Okay, but if I have abortion, I'm killing a person. Is it moral to kill this person? Could be the next Elon Musk, but I'm like, nah, bye bye Elon, bye bye Melon, whatever the name is. Is it wrong? Is it
AE12.
Ash
Yeah,
X
sure. That's how it's
A12
pronounced.
Ash, yeah. uh
13.
12
Okay.
Archangel 12.
Okay.
So why there's a video by Jordan Peterson, and he said this. He said, um, it's a very difficult situation, because it's right or wrong, extremely hard on both sides.
Mhm.
So if the right question to ask, the practical question to ask is, what made you go into the situation in the first place? Okay, what made you lead up to this situation? Because the situation itself is a trap. It's both wrong. Okay, abortion both wrong. Having a baby is also wrong, right? So what made you go into this situation in the first place? Okay, sex out of wedlock, with no protection, no condom, all that stuff. You know, so you trace it back. So there's a
Mhm.
start to it, to how wrong it is. So, um, so that's how to make it practical. But again,
Okay,
just this abortion topic
I'm
is
gonna take
surprising.
some liberty. I'm gonna take some liberty and use the tool of philosophical literature to give you an even more complex situation. Because here's the thing. When you talk about a situation where you're talking about what we know as a moral dilemma. So, like you said, okay, what is the moral dilemma? Both are wrong. Both of the things are
Yeah,
wrong. So,
yeah.
that leads us to the conversations about the lesser wrong and the more evil and things like that. But the reason I want to complicate the situation so much is that we are not distinctively clear about which one is wrong, in the first place. And this
Mm,
reminds me, um, one of the great one of the great philosophers, and we'll get into this about what his actual philosophy is. But Dostoevsky, one of the Russian philosophers, his in his novel The Crime and Punishment, very famous for his arguments about morality, right? And I mean, Dostoevsky is in himself is a very complicated subject to read. You can tell that by how difficult his name is to pronounce. It's a very difficult uh,
Dostoevsky.
yeah. So, but the reason I chose that example is because and when you read Crime and Punishment, it's a novel, right? I think Dr. Jordan Peterson also talked about it once.
Yeah, yeah. He talks
It's
about
a
it. Yeah.
novel, and when he creates that scenario, it's so much dramatic that the dilemma is not even clear to you if it is a dilemma in the first place or not. So his character, I forgot the name, Raskolnovly or something. He commits a murder, right? And if you just say that he commits a murder, it's
Mm,
immediately wrong. Let's give it context. So this is a story in the novel, right? He commits the murder of an old woman. You're like, oh, immediately wrong. But then you read the backstory, and there's so much drama and exaggeration in it that for a moment you'll either sympathize so much with him. So he
mm,
comes from a poor background, and he, I think, does not have the means to continue his education or earn a livelihood. And he writes back to his mother and sister, and they are like, oh, we have spent everything that we had on you. So there is social pressure, there is economic pressure, and it's such an difficult situation going on that you would, when you read the novel, you sympathize with that person. But then he commits what you know as a crime. And so and there are troubling arguments that he presents later on about the age of the woman and how much was she supposed to live anyways. These are really troubling arguments because she's a very aged woman, right?
mm,
So
mm,
the idea being that the argument is so complicated that you do not know what is right and what is wrong in the first place. So, and his personal choice of morality we'll discuss later. It's a very specific idea of morality. But in this scenario, what I'm trying to say, because like you said, it depends on the situation. I also think that it depends on your side. Which side do you want to pick? So, like, if you're reading it from Raskolnovy's perspective, or you're having a sort of a bond with him. So when you read him, you're like, no, obviously he had to do it. But if that poor lady, that old lady that was murdered, was your relative or something, or if you're reading the story from her perspective, then immediately Raskolnovy is the one who is wrong. So,
mm.
I also think that
Yeah.
it's a lot of personal favors that we are playing. So, like a simpler
Mm,
example would just be that two people fight. Then, it's just a skirmish. It just happens. There is no right or wrong. But you will obviously be on the side of the one who's your friend, and you will think that
mm,
the other person is right. So, what is your outlook? What do you say? Do you think there's a bias in deciding what is morality?
It's such a heavy question. Okay, morality itself is a heavy question. By the way, someone just push that microphone a bit more because everyone was saying morality. It's like pom pom
Yeah,
pom. Explosion in
it's
my ears.
really
Yeah,
close
just
to my mouth. Sorry about that.
yeah. Anyways, it's like, does it have a bias? Of course, if it's your friend, uh,
Mm-hmm.
like like uh, Elon Musk, right? Even Elon Musk, there's some people who hate him, like some like robot, like he wants to
It's
take
an
people to
alien.
Mars. Yeah, he's an alien. Oh, what is he doing? But then if you get to really know him, if you've been reading his books, if you hung out with him, you'll be some sort of friend, like and you know him personally. For example, I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan is quite, like he's on Elon's side. He's like,
Okay.
uh, Elon, I think Elon's gonna make a new phone, and whatever he's making, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna support it 100%. I think the reason why is because he had Elon go into his podcast a few times, and that's why he built this friendship. So it's like you are on the side of whoever you're friends on. Uh, I mean, at the same time, another bias is you're on the side of who you see. Like say, for example, two people are fighting, and you see one side, but you don't see the other side. You're more likely to believe on what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Or for example, like when people make a sandwich, and then suddenly they put the sandwich under the desk. You're like, no, what do you do under the desk? But if they do it fully in front of you, they'll be more willing to trust you. So I think there are biases in morality, and I think, as usual, whenever we talk about philosophy, we're always talking about a spectrum of things. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
right or wrong. There's no absolutes. But I think the easiest way is the extremes, right? The tails. If you look at the normal distribution, the tails are the easiest. The one that's in the middle is more complicated. Like, oh, you murder this child, but like you have a grandfather that needs you to murder this child. Otherwise, the child. Like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of murdering children, right? Killing.
Hitler,
Okay,
baby.
well,
Okay.
what a bad word
I
to
knew
say.
this was coming.
Killing. Uh, Hitler. Okay, time machine pops out. Pooh!
Mhm.
Right? Wow. Where should I go? You know what? I should go. I'll go to 19. I think 34. I don't know what time it is. 1926 or 1916. I forgot. Go to that time period. Go to Hitler's, like hospital. Hitler, go to Hitler. Like, oh, maybe Hitler. And then you're gonna kill a lot of Jews, right? And you're gonna kill a lot of people, massacre a lot of people. I'm gonna kill you now. Poof, disappear, right? Is it moral to do that? Is it moral to kill baby Hitler, knowing that if you kill him, Thanos, right? Thanos, I'm gonna kill you. Remember in Endgame, you should have went for the head. Is it moral to do that? By the way, I did this.
Let's see baby Hitler example first. What would you do?
Okay, okay. Now, while the audience is thinking, I'll tell you the best answer that I heard of. it's by,
Okay.
it's by, who is it? Afik. Afik. He
Okay.
said, he said, can I even say this on the podcast? Okay, if I can't, just cut it out.
Okay. I feel like this is okay. This is not me. He quoting somebody else. Okay. I think we're safe
Okay,
now.
I'm quoting somebody else. Okay,
Okay.
he said, I'll have sex with Hitler's mom, so Hitler won't be born.
Okay. I'm gonna cut it out. See, here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing about the baby Hitler problem in general.
Okay.
It's not acceptable on any spectrum of morality. You know why?
Oh wow, interesting. Okay, interesting.
It's
Okay.
yeah. I don't know. Um, Normal people are very emotional. Plato would love me for saying this. Normal people are emotional. They don't care about morality or rationality at all. So they'll be like, yeah, baby Hitler, kill him. But killing baby Hitler is not accepted in any spectrum of morality. There's a very simple reason, and that does not even concern morality. The thing is,
Okay,
he
okay.
has not committed any crime yet. He's still a baby. And under no idea of morality can we punish people for crimes that they have not committed yet. So essentially, it will be punishing baby Hitler for something he has not done yet. That is why the idea is not really accepted in philosophical
Mm.
morality.
My counter for that is that moral question exists considering time machines don't exist.
Okay.
But if machine exists and you know how the path of time flows, right? I'm interested to see how that will change. You know,
I mean, are
uh,
you referring to the fact that, uh, timeline becomes one singularity and it's not a past future thing? It's
uh,
event only.
no, uh, because he hasn't done it. So there's it's a baby, right?
Hmm.
He hasn't become Hitler and grew up,
Yeah.
but now you know that he will. Like here's the script, you know. Here's okay, I can travel back in time. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he won't, but he will. He will because I have a time machine. You know, I have time. I'm certain of it. I'm curious how
even
that
then
answer will change.
even then the way any law enforcement works is like, the police, if they invent a machine that predicts future, and if they knock on your door and they be like, you will rob a bank tomorrow, hence we are arresting you today, it does not make sense. It's not possible, it's not acceptable on any spectrum of morality, because this person that you are arresting has not done the crime. You get me?
Okay, what if I say this? Okay, Salman, um, tomorrow I'm gonna come to your apartment and murder you. I
Yeah,
haven't done it yet. I haven't
yeah,
done it yet.
yeah.
Will you stop me? I haven't done it
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, but I'll
Why?
not punish you. I can. Here's the thing: you will be punished or contained on the crime, committing crime of threatening somebody, not the crime of murdering somebody. The police can only arrest you on the basis that you threatened somebody, and hence to preserve the safety of the person, we will arrest you. But but they cannot execute you. They cannot kill you. For example, the punishment is, the capital punishment, that if you murder somebody, they murder you. They cannot murder you saying that you will murder somebody, because you have not done the crime yet. But you have threatened somebody by saying that I will murder you. That threat in itself is a crime, because you show intent of doing it. But at the end of the day, you have not committed the crime yet, so we cannot arrest you. We can prevent that, we can contain that, but we cannot arrest you, because and obviously this is a completely different topic. But what the thing is, and this is obviously, there's no certainty about it, but one very interesting argument that I found is that timelines are not singularities. So timelines are branches of possibilities, and we're not sure which one of them will cement into future. So, there's still, till the person commits the crime, till the person stabs the other person and the person stops breathing, till that final moment, the crime has not been done. So that's to say, that our understanding of how timelines and parallel universes and everything works, but obviously we're not sure about that at all. So, but once again, the idea being, um, you know uh, the departments of, I don't know what they are called, but basically departments that stop terrorism.
Yeah.
So the
While you're talking about thinking about departments, just push that mic a bit more because you're terrorizing my uh, ears. All right, just
this is a
put your
different
just
setting.
yeah.
I'm usually like this. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay,
someone.
from here.
Yep. Yeah. 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 Okay. Good.
I think I
Yep.
need
Yeah.
to.
Terrorism.
I
CIA.
need
All right.
to.
CIA.
Yeah, like CIA or FBI or something. So they keep profiles of people that are very likely to commit crimes, but
Mm,
they keep them in watch list, and they monitor their
yeah.
activities. And the second they are they're going to commit the crime, they intervene, but you
Mm,
cannot arrest them on the possibility that they will commit the crime. So
yeah.
that's something about the
Okay.
baby Hitler stance.
Interesting.
Let's see in terms of
Oh,
morality.
let's say, okay, okay, sorry. You want to go?
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, let's say uh, I have a prisoner, and this
Okay.
prisoner murders every Tuesday. Every
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday. Every Tuesday,
Yeah,
he has to murder someone.
yeah.
He has to murder someone, right? Now, currently, I'm on this ship with 100 people, and one of them is this prisoner. Suddenly, the prisoner escapes. Uh, Tomorrow is Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is Tuesday, right? Uh, should I? What should I do? Should I just let him go, or should I restrain him? Yeah, I mean, it's moral to restrain him, right? Why have to restrain him? Uh, or if I have a gun,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just there, he's like the clock hasn't struck 12 yet, and
Okay.
then it's like it's almost Tuesday, and then he's gonna get up, he's gonna murder someone. I have to shoot him, right? That's that's a moral thing to do, right?
Yeah, it's when you condense it to a very specific scenario, it's difficult, but obviously the point is that you are only morally allowed to either shoot him or contain him the second he picks up the gun and tries to point it at you. If he's just sitting there, it is immoral for you to restrain him or anything. Yes,
Right.
and once again, if there is a possible threat and that threat is really strong, then you can obviously contain him. But contain is not the same as restrain. At least that's what I understand. Because once again, it's about punishing somebody for a crime that he has not done. So that leverages into basically immorality.
Mm.
How are you going to punish?
Wha- wha-
So for example, there's a trial and you're like, okay, so I arrested this person for what? For suspected crime? Doesn't really hold
is
up in the court.
is murder moral?
So
That's a big
murder,
question, right?
yes, that is a big question. I would like to take the aid of philosophy to help answer that question. It's a very difficult question, obviously. And I think this is where philosophy enters the scenario. There are two ideologies, and this is why I wanted to start with this ideology. Before we even understand if there is a specific thing that is moral or not, I think it's important to understand where morality comes from. And I mean, once again, um, this leans more into what we know as meta ethics. The study of the nature of ethics itself rather than just ethics. So obviously, meta ethics is something that will build upon how ethics is made, and that can help us answer all these questions. Within the box of ethics, it will be an ever going, it will just keep on going, right? So let's take a little bit help from meta ethics and see how we can try to understand morality. Metaethics tries to answer these questions by stating that, first of all, we need to find the source of morality. If we do not know the source of morality, there is no point in debating. There are a billion scenarios, and we will keep on debating, is this right? Is this wrong? Is this in this scenario right? Or is this in that scenario right? It will go on for and on. So we say, okay, if the source of morality is identifiable, the problem is a little bit simplified. And what philosophers have tried to theorize for several centuries is that we have two schools. We have moral realism and we have moral anti-realism. So these are two main categories. Obviously there are some spectrum and shorter schools in between, but these two, broadly speaking, moral realism states that morality is a factual kind of thing. It's not relative, right? It's not like, so for example, murder is wrong, full stop. That will be moral
Hmm.
realism. But moral anti-realism is like, not really, it depends on the scenario and things are molded and etc., etc. So that is moral anti-realism. And on the surface, you would be like, yeah, moral anti-realism seems the right way, because obviously not everything is the same. But once again, these both moralities take their leverage from the source itself. So the reason moral realism says that morality is a fact is that it introduces the idea that moral moral reality comes from an ultimate source. So God or religion or something, maybe even the
Mm,
government. But they say that the source is absolute. This is why morality in itself is absolute. But moral anti-realism says, well, the source is not really absolute. So these are the two broad ideas that we have. Which
mm.
one do you think that you would lean towards?
Currently, I'm leaning towards the one that is anti-realism, because that's
Okay.
how, I'm not sure it's anti-reality, but in reality that's how it is, right? Murder
Mm-hmm.
is never simple. You murder someone, what's the
Mm-hmm.
situation? Why did he murder that someone? Was that
Yeah.
someone trying to murder his family? Yeah, like I, I think it's all relative. I think um we have to open all
What
doors.
if what if you take some more extreme examples? Something so bizarre that you cannot, I don't want to say something really disturbing, because obviously people might find it disturbing, but some crimes, some punishments are so bizarre
Yeah,
that there is no way that you can justify it as being the right thing to do. Murder, maybe yes, he murdered my father, he murdered my brother, I avenged him. But I don't know, something like,
yeah,
I don't know, something really
yeah,
taboo or something really bizarre.
yeah.
There
I,
are
I mean,
several.
too bad. I have I have examples. Oh, too bad I can't say it. But like TV series, true crime dramas.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
all these different examples, right? One of them is, for example, in Japan. You might think that Japan, oh, it's a safe country. It is a very safe country. You drop your wallet, the next day you come, it'll be there on the floor. No one will pick it up. It
yeah.
is so
Okay.
safe. However, I think last 2 years there is a massacre for disabled people. So this guy just comes in with a knife and then just starts stabbing the disabled people in the disabled people's house. Yeah, I'm like, why? In Japan, why would he do that? He's basically a psychopath, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
why does he do that? Okay, maybe it's a mental illness. Maybe mental illness doesn't happen, and usually it's not an unusual case. Um, Also, there was school shootings. There's a
School
lot of
shooting.
school shootings in America, of course. Um, uh, we can go back to the reasonings. The reasoning is usually because these kids, um, I think it's open source because again, Dr. Jordan Peterson, he talks about this. People always ask, what are these children thinking? What are these children thinking? Well, actually, you can know what they think. They sometimes actually make journals. They journal their thoughts, and then you can read out their disturbing thoughts. And then they usually say something like, like I've been trapped in my mom's basement, and then I can only play video games. And then because of that, it creates some psychological sense that
Yeah,
I want to
yeah,
murder my mom or something like that. Like they've been trapped, and uh, eventually it leads to a conversation where he says, do you think you're incapable of doing those things? If you read, if you read the text, if you read the right, you can't believe how these things are also inside of us, and we're also capable of doing the same thing. So if you think
yeah.
they're an outlier, no, you're mistaken. It's in all of us. So all of us are capable of doing that.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's
I
that's a
think that,
frightening outlook, but it connects back to the same question, right? There are
yeah,
some things that you may not be able to, and okay, this is something I really like to clear up, because we are often mistaken into this idea that, for example, if somebody does a crime, and you make a Netflix series on that, and suddenly everybody loves him, right? You know where I'm coming from, right? I mean, I'm not referring to anything in specific, but when you present, I think it's called I don't know, perspective clearing or something, but you present it from their perspective, like, oh, he had a troubled childhood, and etc., etc., and then suddenly you love them. The Godfather, Godfather, and all
Oh yeah,
these
yeah, yeah,
gangster
yeah,
movies. They are a
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
representation of the idea, and these people are literally mass murderers, mafia
Mm,
mobs, and everybody's like, oh my god, I love the Godfather. So because they present it in such a convincing way. So this is something I really
yeah.
like to clear up, and it happens. But here's the thing: if somebody comes from a troubled background or something, these are not okay, these are excuses, not really justifications. Yes, that explains why he did that, but it's not an excuse. It's not a pass for him to keep on doing that. So
Mm,
what I'm trying to say is that the act itself remains immoral. If somebody does school
mm,
shootings, or like you're referring to the disabled being physically assaulted, or even things like sexual assault and things like that. If somebody does that, and then you read their journal or diary or something, and they are being bullied since day one, whatever, it's sad, they need help, but it's not an
mm,
excuse for letting them go or letting them continue doing that. So once again, the idea being that what is immoral is sometimes you are like, oh, he avenged his father's mother, his father's murder or
death.
something. Then
Murder.
you're like, okay, that murder was not immoral. But then there are some things that are absolutely immoral, and there is no excuse.
Yeah.
Then once again, how would you fit that into the idea of anti-realism, that everything that is morality is relative?
Oh,
What would you say?
oh, oh. That's tough, right? Like absolutely no excuse.
Mhm.
Okay. Is this a good example? I don't know. So, when I was a young boy, I had crabs. Okay, not the sexual transmitted disease, actual crabs. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, actual crabs. Uh, so bought them live crabs, right? Live crabs, and put it on the sink. And then the crab is like so, like I'm a kid, I expect animals to be friendly. In the movies, they're always so friendly. But this crab is so like, stay away from me. I'm like, that's an evil crab. That crab is evil. So you know what I did? I took the
This is
crab.
not going to end good.
Okay, okay. Trigger warning. Okay, murder
Okay.
involved. Uh, put it in a drain, and I'm curious. Like what? Like, so this crab is such a gangster. I have to like, I have to punish him or something, right? So so I took a rock. And I tried to slam the crab. Now I don't know if it killed the crab. I don't know because there's water there, right? But assume I did. Assume I did. Uh,
Bruh, how old were
is,
you?
is that just the 10 years old? Something like that. Yeah, 10 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
What's worse? My mate, it's me and my mate. So my mate is also in the game. It's like, okay. but
Did you
what
did you seek
is it
therapy
is it
after that?
is it a moral thing to do for a 10-year-old? uh when does morality start? Like,
Okay,
is this
okay.
part of the question? I don't know. I don't
That
know.
is
I don't
really
know. Like,
interesting. When does morality start? I mean, that's the problem with the morality problem. It has so many branches, so many branches. And I want to discuss when does morality start. And I mean, it's going to be a little bit diversion, but hopefully we'll come back to the ground, to the anti-realism. Go ahead.
okay, so before we go there, Salman, okay, here's what I want to establish first.
Hmm.
We know when things are moral, right? uh, if
Okay.
we see, if we're driving. Okay,
Hmm.
this happened to me actually 2 days ago. There was, in the traffic light in Brunei, there's this lady that is on a wheelchair, and he's trying to cross. He's trying to cross the traffic light, right? No
Okay.
one's helping him, right? I'm like, oh damn, I really want to help this lady, but I'm in a rush. So this other lady parked her car and push the guy. Uh, is that part of morality? I'm not sure. It feels right. It feels like the
Mm-hmm.
right thing to do. Would you consider that as saying that is the moral thing to do to help the lady out?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a moral thing to do?
I mean, yeah, that would typically be the definition of morality, right? That would
Yeah,
typically
well,
be the definition of doing something
why do you
morally
say
good.
it's moral? Why do you say it's moral? Is it because okay? Is it because when I described it, do you turn on your brain or do you feel sad for this lady? It's a feeling first. Is it a
Mm-hmm.
feeling first or thinking first?
That is a good question. That is a good question. Is moral? I think it connects back to the question: is morality a social construct? Because if it's a social construct, then it's the brain that is working. But if it's not a social construct, if it's what the moral realists claim that it's something just rigid, it exists as it is, then we know that it's supposed to be something innate. I think philosophy actually has an answer, and I mean it's not complete, but that's one of the biggest schools of morality that have been being followed and practiced and imitated for a long, long time. So I don't remember somewhere back. I don't remember dates. I'm not good with dates, but there's actually a theory of natural law. It's called the theory of natural law that dictates Saint Thomas Aquinas. Many people know him. He's a great figure in, I think, Protestant Christianity. So Saint Thomas Aquinas, he came up with this idea that morality is something that is innate. So because how in Christian divinity, and also I think in almost all Abrahamic religions, we have this idea about human beings being created in the reflection of God. So he takes from that idea, and he says that, well, morality is something that is innate us. God does not just, basically we are hardwired to have morality. That's the idea in an oversimplification. So he says when we look at something, we know that this is morally right or wrong the same way that we know our innate skills. So for example, survival or something, remember first episode we discussed about
Yeah.
the innateness of human beings, that there are some things that the children did not need to be taught. They know, they immediately like those things, maybe food, maybe playing, or etc., etc. And he gives a more clearer example with species that do things for survival. Sometimes species have to kill and murder for survival. And he says,
Okay.
well, it's part of their idea. But basically the idea was it's natural law. So.
Okay. So let me stop you there. You said okay, in the view of morality is innate, why are there so many human beings that's immoral?
Mhm, mhm,
In Singapore, you have all these old people
mhm.
that their families have left them. Their families went to Europe, went to America. These old people are, on the side of the road begging. They're actually not poor. They actually have rich families. They just left him alone. So if you're saying, uh, and you have cases like these where family infighting, within families, they want property, they want money,
Mhm.
all that stuff. If morality is, innate and it's in everyone, and it's an instinct like love, right? Like love
And
and the instinct to eat. Why are they immoral people? Why are they immoral people? So doesn't that mean that morality should be taught?
I mean, if
Yeah.
I have to explain it from the idea of natural law itself, which is the Saint Thomas Aquinas idea. He was actually asked this very same question, right? So here's the idea. The idea that morality is an innate reaction is, it is there, but it's not complete. Well, the complete idea is that even though it is an innate action, at the end of the day, for some reason, you still have to use your intellect to sort of understand and recognize that morality. So it's inside you, you know it, but you still need to use your intellect to recognize morality completely. And then he says that people who do innately immoral things are basically, they do it because of ignorance. So they know that it is immoral, but they just ignore it. I don't know if you have this in your culture, but in my
Mm.
culture we have these sayings like ignoring your inner voice. So like the idea is like when you do something wrong, you know it is wrong, and that is coming from your innateness of morality. But you proceed to ignore it for maybe, God knows what reasons. But
Mm.
basically, what the natural law, the Thomas Aquinas idea is that the people who do immoral things are they do it out of ignorance. So they understand that this is immoral, but they ignore it.
Mm. Yeah. Speaking
Ties up,
about
yeah.
Christianity, yeah. Speaking about Christianity, there's also, I think there's this verse. Um, if you're a Catholic, let me know if I'm wrong. Okay, I don't mean to offend you. It's like if your left hand is doing something wrong, your
Mhm.
right hand should stop it or something like that. Like your right hand should be aware of that thing. So I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
very interesting.
I mean,
Right?
there references of such ideas of image. There are hadiths also that talk about immediately stop. This one, this immediately stopping whatever you see is wrong. So I think yes, it connects back to the idea that this school, and it has been
Mm.
prevalent. This idea of morality has been prevalent in Protestant and Catholic churches for a long while, and knowingly or unknowingly, that's the morality that they have been. And I think most Islam, even Islamic and Abrahamic religions, agree with this idea of morality. My personal this is my reflection on this idea of innate morality. I personally do not agree with this, and I'm trying my level best to find more, to learn and educate myself better to be able to understand this. But even in Islamic literature, there are references and hadiths and narrations um that talk about the child being born as a Muslim. There is the hadith that
Yeah, yeah,
quotes
yeah, yeah.
that the
Yeah.
child is born as Muslim. So
Mm.
it connects back, and we talk about that innateness is morality. The reason I do not understand and I'm not completely convinced yet is uh, so the Greeks, they had this idea called tabula rasa, and it's a very long-lived idea. And tabula rasa is a Greek word that literally translates to blank slate. So the idea being that human beings are born as a blank slate, and every single thing we learn is completely learned by society. And the reason why this idea is more prevalent and more convincing to me is you see the drift between cultures. It is huge. One culture says that something is morally right, you know, and the other culture says that is extremely, extremely wrong. So,
Yep. Yep.
and I'm thinking if these both are the same species that have the same system software of guidelines, then
Yeah.
there should not be that much contradiction. So that is why I'm not personally convinced about that idea, but I'm still looking to explore it further.
Yeah, that's a good argument. I was just going on Instagram, and there's this article um, of this tradition in India where a bull is like released, and you
Mhm,
should. There's this wild bull that runs around the town that can kill people, and
mhm,
I think it's a religious ceremony where you have to stop the bull and hold it in its tracks, and like. Uh, I'm guessing the people in that area of India celebrate it, whereas the people in America were like, no, this is against human rights. So
mhm.
Americans are like, no, this is not right. Indians are like, yeah, this. What do you mean? This is our culture. This is a right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not
Yeah,
sure about that. I've not heard about that. Maybe it is. Um, I think a more vivid example is the meat problem. You know what I refer to as the meat problem, the meat triangle. So this is how it goes. This is the story. This is where the story starts.
yeah.
2016 or something. Some the PETA, the Animal Welfare Organization in the United States, they started raising voice against the southeastern part of Asia that consume dog as a meat. And they're
Mm.
like, stop killing dogs. Dogs are not food. Dogs are pet. And then,
Uh,
then there was a backfire from the Southeast Asian countries. They were like, well, how is it any different how is it any different from when you eat cows and the Hindus tell you that cows are not meant to be eaten, or above
Mm.
them all, the vegan tells you that nothing of them is supposed to be eaten. So it's like extremely carnivorous, will eat everything. But then it's like will not eat cows, but then there's like will not eat dogs and cats, but it's like I'll eat everything. So and then the last one is like will not eat anything at all. So that's the morality. It's like everyone is pointing guns at each other. And how do you decide who decides? It's an extremely intense
Yeah,
problem. It's an
yeah.
extremely intense problem.
Or, or,
And
or maybe, or maybe it's part of the grand design. We're all slaves of Darwin. You know, we're meant to have different beliefs so that we can know like which belief will prevail. You know, you're gonna have different beliefs. Ooh, right, right. Who's right or wrong? There's no grand design. There's only
you
like
know the,
you go out there, you have your beliefs. Let's see. Diversity is good because it encourages, like in event that disaster happens, there's so much diversity that there's a population of human beings that will survive. So yeah, I mean, Darwin, I'm a big fan of
that's an
Darwin.
interesting outlook. I've never heard that before, that if there's a disaster, a population would survive, and that's why we need diversity. That's
Yeah,
new.
that's how COVID survives. You know how COVID survives? Thank you, Darwin. Yeah, yeah, thank you, Darwin, because of
I mean,
COVID.
I mean, you were being sarcastic, but the grand scheme idea, it actually reminds me of. I forgot who I heard it from. I think there was some professor. I was listening to some lecture, and it was this idea that the reason that uh, these different cultures do not go along is because they were not designed to interact at all. And that's
Yeah,
something
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah, 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 yeah.
insightful. So like it boils down to, and I talked to one of the researchers about this. He was talking, and I think episode 2 or 3, I talked to him on this podcast about globalization, and he talked
Mm,
about this also, that how globalization was never meant to be. It just
mm,
happened, you know. So and when you go deeper down in this idea, it really makes sense. So I talked to a few friends of mine from India, and they were like, well, not all of India is like don't consume cows, but there was a certain part of India in which cow were the central animals that were used for livestock and
mm,
farming. So it was a central piece, and killing cows would mean that the entire livestock would stop. So hence, don't eat cows. And then there are certain areas in which there may be dogs or other civilizations were helping human beings. We know as early as 6,000 years ago that
mm,
cats were helping the Egyptians. So we know, okay, from there, maybe the cats were helping humans. So we're like, oh, don't eat cats. We love them. But maybe in another part of the world, that was not the case, and cats were being problematic. So they were like, just eat them, or dogs were being
mm.
problematic. So,
And then
maybe it has a lot to
in
do
a
with
tribe,
geography.
yeah, and then in a tribe somewhere, like in Brazil or something, like they don't have enough food, so they have to eat their
Cannibalism, yeah, yeah.
cannibalism. Yeah, so cannibalism is good
So
there. So there's a reason for everything.
I think like in the Arab, their cultural food. I mean, they don't consume it anymore, but they know that they used to consume what we know as monitor lizards. The huge lizards. You have them in Brunei also. The
Mm.
monitor lizards. They
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah,
hunt them
yeah.
and eat them for fun.
Biawak.
So what do
Oh,
you call that?
biawak,
Oh, okay. I didn't know that the Bruneian version. Yeah,
biawak.
I
Yeah.
think yeah. So it comes back to the idea that geography has something to do with that, and that in our philosophical scale, it connects to the idea of relativism, the anti-realism, that
Yeah.
morality is relative. Why? Because, well, all of these people have different situations, and they created morality as a tool to create some set of rules that will make sure that their society not only survived but will prosper. But then now
Yeah.
suddenly it's a global village, so it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah, maybe this is where it overlaps with biology and Darwin. Okay, I'm getting back. I'm getting sorry,
Go ahead.
biomedical by training. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
how
yeah.
it works? How it works is how animals. Uh, you can have a species of this actually happens in real life. There's a species of shrimp
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, and then suddenly the population of shrimp, right? And suddenly there's a crater that happens, right? There's a volcano that splits the two populations apart.
Mm-hmm.
So they become two distinct populations, and for years and thousands of years or even millions of years they evolve their own set of abilities. One sees salty, one sees less salty, one sees deep, one sees shallow. So one developed claws, one developed larger fins. And you know what, in biology, what is considered as a separate species? It's considered a separate species if you can't breed anymore. I think that's the right reason, because I know that some zebras can mate with horses, even though that's highly not possible. Anyways,
Maybe it's like, uh, so if these two
yeah,
species mate,
if
they
they,
do not produce the same species anymore.
yeah, you can. That's why we're human beings, right? If I know I keep talking about bad examples, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Okay, if like if we take an animal and we do so whatever uh, things that are in your darkest imaginations, it won't produce a baby, right? It only happens with another human being. Okay,
Mhm.
because it only applies to our species, similar to this animal, right? So when the volcano is not there anymore, or when there's a gap in between the two legs and the species come together, they're now enemies. They're now enemy species, even though at the beginning they're the same species.
So now it's
Why is
survival of the fittest.
now is survival of the fittest? And what happens, if you think about it, is they've evolved to adapt to all these different conditions, specifically to these different conditions, and nothing else. Specifically to this, specifically to this. So when they
Mhm.
meet, they're enemies. Uh, Maybe it's the same with culture as well. When human beings migrate all over the world, for example, to Japan, human beings migrate to Japan because there was an ice age, so they can just walk through Japan, because now Japan is an island, but it wasn't an
Mhm.
island. There was ice there, so people walked to the Japan, and then the
Or
ice
maybe
melted, and
the
now it's an island,
Penega.
isolated.
I think it's called the Penega when the entire continents were together, right?
Pangea.
Pangea, yeah.
Different.
So
So
okay,
no, this was sooner, even sooner. That was,
okay.
I think that was, I think there was a dinosaur age,
Before
someone.
humans. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So uh, again, Japanese and the rest of the world, each individual one, as you said, develop their own culture, develop their own religion, right?
Hmm.
Because it suits that environment. They're not supposed to meet, and then when they meet, things don't make sense. We've been living
Yeah, yeah.
for years because we're accommodated to survive in this condition, in this island, and then you come here from your African or from your European religion. It doesn't make sense, like, yeah. So they're not supposed to meet. Maybe it's the same way as how those biological creatures adapt to their environment, and they're not supposed to meet, because when they meet, I'm not adapted to your environment, you're not adapted to my environment. But again, maybe
You,
it's good, maybe diversity is a good thing, yeah.
this is why I love these conversations because if I go and talk to my philosophical peers, it's a repetition of the same ideas because we have all read the same books. So we go back and through like yeah. I love when the discussion becomes multidisciplinary because
Yeah.
this is something that we have not discussed before amongst philosophers. And when you bring in this idea, it reminds me, it totally shatters Immanuel Kant's idea of what we call as categorical imperative. So the idea of, there's a scholar called Immanuel Kant, a philosopher considered big in the world of morality and ethics specifically. He shaped the foundations of what we know as morality today. And he had this idea called a categorical imperative. What it basically meant was, Kant said that if something has to be morally correct, it has to be absolutely morally correct. And if something has to be morally wrong, it has to be absolutely morally wrong. So, what
What do
it
you mean?
means is that why is stealing wrong? Why should I not steal from you because I don't want somebody else to steal from me. I don't want it to be a universal thing
Yeah.
that that everybody steals. So he basically said that for something to be morally correct, that something must be a universal law, that everyone should be able to practice it without any problem. And when that is not possible, that will, for example, and now my interpretations of that idea are that maybe because society would collapse if everybody goes on stealing and murdering, for
Mm.
reasons, right? So everybody cannot do that. So if it's not universally acceptable or practicable, it's immoral, it's morally incorrect, right? And he even goes to extends to say that if somebody if you have to lie or kill somebody to save your life or your father or your son's life, you should not. It's still immorally wrong, because
Mm,
once again it
mm,
cannot be more universally practiced, right? So
mm.
because people will then go ahead for killing in the name of self-defense, etc. So that
Okay.
that levitates into that idea. But the reason I say that it really resonated was because now we understand, and I'm really convinced about this idea that morality was not supposed to be something that was supposed to interact. And now when we put this idea in front of the idea of empirical categories, it really presents a really different picture. So like in one side we
Mm,
have this idea that moralities are sub moralities different for different people, and that's how it works best. They are not supposed to interact. And
okay.
then on the other hand, there's
Mm,
Immanuel Kant, who's like, it's supposed to be universal. So
mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Let me start with that. So, when we talk about morals, right? Something clicked in my mind when you talk about that. If you're on an island alone
Hmm.
and no one else, do you think about morality? Do you question morality when you're on an island and you're absolutely alone? Uh, uh, let's say you're the last human being on Earth.
Okay.
Is there morality if you're the last human being on Earth? Or morality
Are
only
there
involves
animals?
between human beings?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. That's a really insightful question. That is morality something that, and I mean, I understand where you're coming from, because by the look of it, whatever we have talked right now is that morality is a tool to make sure that society prospers, right? So I think that's
Hmm.
insightful. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Um, I mean,
Uh,
there is no scenario to practice morality and immorality. So there
okay.
is no.
So all right, right. So let me put it this way. Okay, here's another thing. Uh, maybe this will segue into a different topic, but I'm alone in the island. I'm the last person on Earth. I'm super depressed. I'm thinking of killing myself. Right? I'm
Hmm.
thinking of killing myself. Does morality have a place in this scenario? I think it does, right?
Hmm. I mean, once again, the reason you should not kill yourself, according to morality, is that we don't want the population of the human beings to survive for no
Okay.
goddamn reason.
Okay. Fine. 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 Okay. Fine. Right. So,
Okay, I'll
Kat
do
just
you
now
one better.
talked about
I'll do you one
yeah.
better. There are two people on Earth, and
Okay.
you can either suck it up and reproduce and save the humanity, or you're like, I am too depressed, I will kill myself and end humanity for good. So
Oh
is there
damn.
morality or is it not? So once again, morality is just a tool that helps ensure the survival and prosperity of
Okay.
a species, in my understanding.
Sure. Sure. So morality favors, you know, the repopulation of human beings. Fine. Okay. Here's another question, right? We always talk about collapse, right? When we talk about morality, right? Okay, we don't want to do this. This is wrong because
Yeah,
it will lead to
yeah.
collapse. Okay, what is collapse? What is a collapse? And has there been examples of collapse? How does collapse look like? Is it a nuclear war?
Hmm.
Uh, is it what is happening in Venezuela when inflations are skyrocketed and people can't buy anything? Is that collapse? What is the definition of collapse? Let's define that first.
Okay, I
Is that a
mean,
good place to start?
yeah, 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 sure. I think yes. I think it's a good place to start, because everything we talk about morality boils down to the survival and interactivity of civilization. So yes, and I think there's one definition that is like literal death of annihilation of human beings. That is that no human being is left. And I would say that is the final collapse. Like if there's a chart, so that is the 0 point, that is collapse, right? But there is still, there's point where, like, let's say the population is not decreasing or something, that they're still living, there's still a country, but they're still under that area which we can say that collapse has started, something like that. So um, now this is something which overlaps each other. So essentially we're asking that, is is collapse occurring because of abandonment of morality? Like, is it because we have abandoned morality that collapse exists? And I would say yes. So that's my outlook once again, that when we abandon morality, collapse occurs. What is collapse?
Okay.
It's the annihilation. It's the If I have to simplify it, I will go back to the instinctive natures of humanity, which is eat, maybe sleep, reproduce, and the basic intact things that make sure that a civilization or a species will survive. So I
Right.
think collapse is making sure that that happens.
Okay. I'm, let's say I'm the Secretary General of the United Nations, right?
Okay.
I'm I'm gonna look at the world map. Okay. I'm going to look at the countries that have collapsed
Mhm.
and the countries that have prospered. Okay,
Okay.
let's look at all these countries. Which country has the happiest people, and which countries have the most miserable people? All right, and I'm just going to say, okay, this country, okay, Venezuela, people are starving. Congo, people are, like, they're having malaria. Kids are very sick, having parasites and all that stuff. I'm gonna go to Norway. Oh my God, they're so happy. I'm gonna go to Japan. Oh, fine, they're suicidal, but wow, look at all that stuff. I'm gonna go to Brunei. Wow, they're they're slow, but they're so happy. Wow, right? They're so happy. They have a lot of oil. Even though it's running out, they seem to be happy. Hari Raya, everyone's having fun. Wow. So
Okay.
these
Here's the thing. No,
countries.
no, no, wait, I'm sorry. I'm stop you. I
Okay.
never use the word happy. That is not my definition of
All
collapse
right.
or
All right. All
collapse.
right. All right.
I would literally
Okay.
say
Okay.
innate extinctions. Innate
Okay.
instance. If you ask me which country in the world, you're the Secretary General and I'm the Secretary of the Secretary General, and you ask me, and you ask me which country is near collapse, I'll tell you. Let me search. So this is because this is
Sure.
my definition, right? So my
Yeah.
definition
Sure.
is most rapid decline in population, right?
Okay. Okay.
Because that literally means that if there is no intervention, the country will cease to exist. There will be zero people. And the Google shows me it's Japan.
Okay. Okay.
They have the most
Yep.
decline in the population. People are not reproducing enough, etc. So I look at it, and the data tells me that if we don't intervene, if it keeps on declining at this rate, there will come a time where there will be no people in Japan, quite literally. So I would say, okay, this is on the brink of collapse.
Mm, mm, mm. Spermicides. All right.
I don't
Okay. So
have the exact data, but
noise, noise. I think collapse, right? Okay. So let's go to uh, mm, in terms of population, right? Population. How many kids do you have to have in order to stabilize the population? You need to have about 2 I think 3.1 kids or 2.1 kids, statistically speaking,
how do you
because
have point one kid?
I'm point one of your son. no, no, because I mean,
That's the
miscarriages
average.
statistically, okay. So I mean, this is what I always say. I mean, I say this. When I date people, I say this, and I think they get bored of my statistics. So I say this: you need to make at least. I mean, I don't say this in general. People, if you have 2 children, then the world population is the same.
Okay.
okay, or statistically 2.1 children. If you have one children, then in the future there will be one less person. And if
Mhm.
you have zero children, in the future they'll have two less people. So if you have 10 billion people, and all these 10 billion people have two children, assuming that nobody dies, okay,
Okay.
and everyone has children, in the future there'll be 10 billion people. But if they have one children each, there'll be 5 billion people. And if they have no children at all, there'll be zero people, right? So that's statistically speaking, right? Of course,
Mhm.
there'll be some people with 10 children, there'll be some people 16, there'll be some people 1 and 0, right? But babies need to be made, right? Uh,
Okay,
I
here's
think,
the thing. Here's the thing. You're the chief of a tribe, you know, and you don't know. Let's say all humanity has extinct. You're the chief of tribe, and you have like 20 people or 40 people in your tribe. What are the guidelines that you set down to ensure that your tribe survives and thrives? And I'm pretty sure one of them will be reproduce. You get it, right?
well, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. You know why? I was watching the royal wedding, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, it's so grand. It's and you know, in religion, right? I was I've been observing people, right? I mean, uh, not in a creepy way, just observing stuff, right? And okay, let's say there's my friend, right? Can I say this? Can I say this? Okay, I'll just say it.
This is an
Um,
unfiltered episode.
okay, fine. Be open, guys. Be open if you're listening to this. So imagine a Muslim family, a strict Muslim family, right? Uh, and the daughter, the daughter's, let's say 25 years old. The daughter has a boyfriend, but the daughter's father is strict. Like no boyfriends at all, right? No touchy, no funny business, no alone in the room with another boy, right? Cannot, no touchy, right? And
Seems
the
reasonable.
only right, reasonable, right? And the only thing preventing them, preventing the father, right? One day the father will be like, no touchy, and another day the father will be like, okay, you can do whatever you want in your room. And the transition for that is the guy shaking the someone's hand and saying a few words,
Or signing.
or signing, and with witnesses and all that stuff. That's it. That's it. So it's like, okay, no touchy. Okay,
Mhm.
wait, say this word. Okay, you can touch now. So
Yeah.
wait. So you're telling me that Barry is only that?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So okay, that's one thing, right? It's that only. But there's more. There's more. I've been thinking about this, and my thoughts are there are things that are sacred. Sacred means when the time comes, the world slows down, society intentionally slows down and pays respect to the sacred thing. uh, One of them is praying, one of them is celebrating a god, a religion or something, and one of them is marriage. And when two people get together, why not just, oh, you're together now, congratulations, good job. But people don't treat it that way. When people get together and they get married, I mean, basically, it's just saying those words. But we treat it more than that. We treat it more like, you said those words. Wow, well done. Woo, celebratory. Everyone, he said those words. They're together now. They're going to make baby. Why is it celebrated? And I think it goes back to what you said just now. It's like, if I'm a chieftain, right? And I
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
make sure that they populate. What do I have to do? You know what? I have to celebrate the, you know, repopulation, right? But we don't say it, like sex is taboo, but we glamorize marriages. Why is that? I think in the end, we just like, I
Mhm.
hope you make babies so our generation, like, it's so funny, right? every every society, including inclusive closed off societies, right? Including the Arabic society, the Malay society, they're very closed off, right? Even though they're like that, in secret, there's a like, all right, marriages, please have sex so that our population continues. Marriage, yeah, woo. On the answer, woo, marriage, woo. Please have sex, make babies, a lot of babies, please. So,
I don't know about you, but in my culture, people literally say make babies. They literally,
oh,
yeah, they're like, there
okay,
is.
okay. So I
But
think that's
yeah.
very interesting. So it's to answer your question. Wow, it just comes full circle. So if I'm a chieftain,
Mhm.
I would I would celebrate marriages. That's why I would celebrate marriages. Oh, okay. You
Okay.
celebrate marriages to celebrate repopulation. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. Like, okay, you have solved half the mystery, you have answered half your questions, but there's one really important perspective that I want to share, which is, if I am a chief of a tribe and I have to make sure that people reproduce, I will not be like, get into a contract. This is something, this is what we call critical thinking. I'm tearing apart everything you just said just
Yep,
to
yep, yep.
make it more concrete. Here's what I will do. Okay, once again, if somebody, if somebody's listening, because not a lot of people listen, but if they're listening, accept this with real open mindedness. Okay, that's what we do in philosophy. Here's what I will do. I'll be like, okay, these are the species or subspecies of our kind, the specimen who are able to reproduce. Okay, and I'll be like, okay, men, you go mate with them and reproduce as often as you can. So if one woman is not available, you skip, you go to the next one. If she's not available, you skip, you go to the next one. If this guy is not available, another guy falls in the space. You get me, right? If I
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
repopulate at the most, at the expense of everything else, I would do that. I'll be like, just go full on immorality and do adultery and everything. But we don't, you know and this is what the most of the societies in the world, when they tried to reestablish morality, after the western and the European collapse of the morality. There's a big chapter in philosophy which we call the collapse of religious morality, the death of God. It's a proper chapter we refer to as in philosophy, which basically means that the western society stopped taking their moral values from religion of any sort, Christianity or other,
Hmm.
and they tried to create their own morality. But all I
Is it the
see
one
is
where
it's
it's like God is dead and we killed him? That one,
God
is
is
it?
there and we kill him. Yeah, that's Nietzsche,
Mm.
right? So the whole idea of that is, that they tried to create their own morality, but arguably it's failing. That's my outlook, and I'm not going to shy away from that outlook. And here's the thing, right? There's a limit to where our trial and error can go. So either you keep on trying and error. So the West, there was a time in the British era, there was a time where the treatment of women were horrible. You can look it up. It was a chapter. This was the dark ages or the medieval ages of the West, specifically the British Islands. They were horrible. Women were used as nothing more than a tool to reproduce, right? So it took them centuries, and then they were like, oh, okay, now we are going to let them vote. So you understand, right, where I'm coming from, that they're basically trying an error, and there is no central point of pivot to hang on to. They're like, oh, this and that. It's a chaos. Here's where I'm trying to come at it. I'm a little bit disoriented here, but this is where I'm trying to come at. If I'm the chief of tribe and I'm really, really clever, and that is to say, it's not just intelligence, it's what I would say as all wisdom. I really know my stuff. I really know how societies work. Or I let the society burn for a few centuries and then I slowly understand that's what the West do. Then I will come to a conclusion that, oh, wait, it's not merely reproduction. When two people come into a contract and they live together, their mental well being goes up. The children they produce, as a result, have a better well being, a better bringing, and they're more stable, they're less depressed, they're doing better in their life, hence they're contributing more to the society. So, and this is the
mm.
exact line where we separate from animals. That even though we make sure that our instinctive abilities, our instincts are being met, we are eating, we're drinking, we're reproducing, but in a more, let's just say, civilized manner. It's not random that okay, reproduce. But once again, if that was the only aim, that would make sense. That should be the way it should be done. But we see that it brings more collapse than it would bring good. So,
So
for
your
example,
argument is, yeah.
for
So
example,
you,
the societies for the societies that are not focusing on marriage as much, they are suffering from problems, like children without parents, parents without children, children growing up with messed up families or whatnot, and that gives a toll on their mental well-being. There's crystal clear data on that we know that children who grow up with normal two-parent families do really, really well. Dr. Peterson also emphasized on this
yeah,
once. So we know that okay, this is the structure of how a society should be. But if we take one thing, in other words, if we try to create our own
yeah,
morality, if we take one thing and try to bend our ways around it, that okay, you can reproduce the way you want, or you can, whatever, then there will be some unaccounted for terrible, terrible results that most of the world has seen.
yeah,
Japan, like we
yeah.
just talked about, is on the brink of a really terrible population decline. Back in 1990 something, Canada was there too. You know, Canada was at the brink of collapse because of their population, and there were they literally, Canada once literally sent out invitations to people to come marry their women and settle in Canada. That's an actual thing that happened.
Mm, yeah,
So,
yeah,
you're creating your own morality and you're happy with it, but then there are so many problems. So something about
mm.
that
Yeah.
it's yeah, yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So I think it's like, this is so interesting, right? I think it's like, I'm a scientist, and if I look at the world in a lot of petri dishes,
Yeah.
where there are a lot of experiments in different petri dishes, I'll be interesting to see what kind of society can prosper, can flourish, and how can we sustain that. And how, I'm not very fluent. I'm not a history buff. I don't read that much philosophy books as much as you, or at all. I'm just looking at things practically. And I'd like to get this back to, in terms of biology, right? Uh, this is why diversity is important. We need to know, the widest range of all the different cultures and all the different possibilities and histories, and then we need to find out, okay, what makes what makes that doesn't work, and from there we can. If I'm a genius, right, I'll be like, okay, that I'll take something from there, I'll take something from there, that will make the ideal society and whatnot. Why is this important? Now, in a lab, you can, like, this is what my lecturer told me. It's like a human being's lifespan. A human being doubles. Yeah, it's just what he said. A human being doubles every 19 years, right, or every 16 years. But a bacteria doubles every 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Viruses can double faster, and whenever you double, you have a slight mutation. You are slightly more mutated than your ancestors. So the reason why is because biology loves diversity. That diversity is absolutely important. Why? Here's an experiment. uh, I forgot what the name of the experiment is, but you basically imagine this cube is agar, right? Agar, agar jelly, right? And uh, it's basically a swimming pool, right? And you put it into different sections, and different sections have different concentrations of Panadol, of penicillin, antibiotics, right? Uh, and then from the beginning here, you have the start of the race, which is bacteria, right? You have bacteria here, and then where the bacteria is put in, zero concentration is zero. Okay, And then the next layer is 10 layers of that concentration. And then the next layer is 10 layers of that concentration. And in each layer, the concentration gets even higher, right? Here's what you notice, right? You put the bacteria in here, and then the bacteria flourishes, right? Just consumes the entire uh like column, right? Because like, oh, a lot of sugar, right? No penicillin at all. And you can see the movement of the bacteria is that they create different branches. Here's a population, they create these three branches. Here's another population, create three branches, right? Now they have the first block. The first block is 10, 10 times concentration of penicillin, right? And from there, they keep trying, they keep trying. Eventually, out of all these branches, one branch will flourish. From that one branch, that branch flourishes, and that flourishes even more. Here's another layer, right? 10 times more of this concentration. What happens? The same pattern. Yeah? That one branch, and it keeps going until the very end. You have, until the very end. This branch is the branch of this branch is the branch of this. So many. The main point is diversity is so important because, again, you don't know which one will survive,
Hmm.
right? And that's how COVID. That's how COVID happened. That's why, uh, getting back to vaccines, that's why it was so important to get vaccinated, because even if people don't get if we let the virus astray, we're actually allowing some of these strains to develop. That's why we have so many, we have so many variants, we have so many active variants, because we're allowing a huge population of it to spread and allowing these mutations. So in the future, will there be a variant after Omicron? Definitely, right? Unless people get vaccinated, unless we stop it in its tracks. But again, bringing it back to your point, sorry, Salman, this huge segue, but
I get it. I get
diversity
it.
is important. Yeah, I just want to see, if I have
Hmm.
the genius of philosophy and history, and epidemiological studies or something, whatever, right? And I can see all these cultures, and I'm like, okay, that one will flourish. That one will flourish. I'm gonna use that to create the perfect society. Again, realistically,
But
will that
what if
happen in
it
real life?
okay?
I don't know.
So in history we have this saying that history is inevitable as much as it is repetitive, right? So we know it's going to happen and we can't really stop it. So like the point is that okay, yes, some nations will flourish, some will suffer, and that's the ideology of a really wise man going like, okay, let me see, let me pick the best traits. That's good. I don't think so that practically happens, but that's a good insight. That's a good insight. But here's the thing. In real world, can I do this bacteria test with people, with real people, and with ideologies? It's like saying, okay, I have a country, let me divide this country into 10 parts and give each of them a different set of morality. Some will perish, some will annihilate, some will nourish, right? I do not have I cannot afford to do that. You get me, right? Like
And that's why you
it
need history, because it's already been done. That's my
yeah, yeah,
theory.
yeah, yeah. Because in history, it has already been done, and this is something that this is something that is frightening. Because what I notice is that as much this is what we mean by history is as much as inevitable as it is repetitive. We know that these things are going to be repeated, but at the end of the day, we know they're also inevitable. And we say that because when we say history is repetitive, we mean the good part and the bad part, and hence it's inevitable. Even if we try, it will come back in another form or not. But here's the melancholic part. This is what worries me, that we have seen the end of civilizations annihilated that have tried to experiment with a corrupted form of morality, you know in comparison to forms of morality that have been tested and thoroughly worked on. Maybe some forms of moralities like religion were supposed to mutate, in the first place. They were supposed to develop, they were supposed to change. But what recently happened in the past, what we understand as the post-contemporary era of philosophy, is that philosophers produced this idea of completely eliminating any set of realistic philosophy. We talked about moral realism, where philosophy is a rigid set of rules, and that's facts. But philosophers, because of this chaos in the modern times. They rejected that idea completely, and hence, like Nietzsche quotes, that we need to create our own morality. We are in need of creating our own morality. But once again, like you mentioned, that it takes a lot of trial and error. And I'm afraid that we have seen in history that nations that have tried to do that trial and error with self made morality have suffered really, really bad. So that's something that I'm afraid of. That's what we're doing even now. We are experimenting morality. We're not, like we talked, we have no idea where it comes from. We have no idea where it goes. But we are still experimenting with philosophy as we are entitled to. And that is something that is worrisome for me.
Right. All right, Saman, I know we're ending soon, so I'm just going to leave you with this question. And I know it'll put you in boiling water. Okay.
Okay.
What do you think is the best country in the world?
In terms of what? Morality?
Isn't the best country also the most moral country?
Technically should be. Technically should be. Here's the answer. Here's the answer. Okay. Back in the time when the Ottoman states were demolishing, some ambassadors from the the abolished Ottoman state went to the newly formed Russian, not the newly formed, the USSR, at that time, and they introduced them to the idea of caliphate. And the Ottoman caliphate had already fallen, so they asked them. They said, "Well, do you think that would you try and accept the model of a caliphate in terms of morality and religiosity?" And they said, "Oh, that sounds interesting, but I want to see it. Which country in the world is following the caliphate model?" And they were like, "Well, none as of right now." So it's kind of a loop that we want to see an example, but we're not ready to be the first example. And that's why we are in this hurdle of experimental morality, because we're not ready to stick to the morality that has worked in the past.
Wait. Has there been a country with a caliphate?
Yeah.
There
the
has, right?
yeah, there has, but it collapsed, so that's not a very good
Yeah.
example to
So
give you.
yeah. So it's so. Would you say caliphates don't work? Okay, I'm gonna put you in hot water now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, I would say caliphates work until they are caliphates, but at the end, we see that they were not strictly rigorous to their morality.
Now, so the question is, why were they not strictly rigorous? Is it not practical? The same, now we're talking about political systems, right? Maybe we can talk about this in future podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people keep talking about communism,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
communism, we've never tried it before. Everyone who tried it before, they're not doing it the right way. We're
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to do it right now. We're going to do it the right way, right? Despite, examples of how it's not practical, how millions of people are murdered. Again, maybe this is a future podcast episode, but there's ideals and there's realism
Yeah.
that hits when the ideals are tried to be implemented. So why is that? So I'm like, we're talking about ideals here, right? Morals, what's moral, what's not. But in the end, what's practical? In the end, I think any leader of a country, in the end, for me personally, has to put their hands dirty, one reason or another. That's just my belief. Sometimes
Mhm.
you need to get dirty. That's what I mean. Because it's not a clean
Maybe,
world. It's not a clean
arguably,
world. Yeah.
arguably. I mean,
Yeah.
if I have to relate it to morality once again, I would say that when we talk about absolute morality, we talk about a morality that will ensure that the civilization prospers in the long term. And the problem with human beings are that we are short-sighted creatures. So when I see that the absolute morality in one way or another, I'm not advocating for any specific set of morality, but I believe that the realism morality, which gives you a more rigid morality to work with, and it can be religion, it can be uh, maybe dictatorship, in if gone right. The point is, it's so rigid that it does not allow for stupidity. It's
I,
rigid.
yeah, I get. Am I correct in saying there are okay? It's we can go haywire with this morality thing, but there are more moral things and there are less moral things, right?
I would
There are
not
more
agree.
morals than. Mm.
I would not agree. I think uh, there are moral things and there are immoral things, right? When you say more moral, I don't think so. There's a very specific kind of scale to discuss at all. It's either moral or it's immoral.
Yeah, but let's say I kill you, someone. It's immoral. But wait, I'm killing you because like you killed my father. Okay, so
Hmm.
so now, uh, if if I if there's a scale of morality like video games, right? At the beginning, I'm like, I'm killing you, someone. My morality. Wait. Now, if I die, it's because Salman killed my father. Wait. Now, my father is a, like it's is a massacre. That's why someone wants to kill my father. So there's this like,
I think it's
what
it's
is
back and
this?
forth between moral and immoral
That's why
rather than
it's
moral.
moral and less moral, more immoral and less immoral. Won't you say so?
I think yeah, but I'm using the word moral and immoral. You know,
Amoral, is it amoral?
yeah,
A.
immoral. Moral and
What's the difference?
immoral, which is not
What's the
moral.
difference? What's the difference between amoral and immoral?
There's no amoral. It's moral and immoral. Come on,
Amoral or immoral?
moral. Moral. Moral.
Moral and
Immoral. Immoral.
immoral. I am.
I am immoral, not moral.
What's the difference between immoral, I am, and amoral, am?
There is no such word as amoral.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Is
Okay,
it?
okay.
Amoral. I don't
Amoral.
know. I know about immoral. Not
Is it
sure.
moral to kick? Is it moral to kick a rock?
Is it moral to kick a rock?
Yeah, it's amoral because there's no morality question in it.
Yeah, okay, if that's the
Ah,
definition of amoral, yeah,
ah.
fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Anyways, I think we're ditched the bottom of this podcast already.
Yeah, I
Talking
mean,
about kicking rocks.
but yes, it was a very fruitful discussion. I think once again, morality and ethics are such huge topics, such complicated topics that we can obviously not go through them in an hour or so. And even if we try it, it's a so complicated topic. So once again, what we're trying is we're just giving our outlooks on it, and we're seeing how we can just dig into these facts and just refresh our brains with some intellectuality. And I think that's it. Thank you, Bill, so much for joining. uh, it
There's
was a
someone.
wonderful discussion.
Someone.
And we were both really really late. We both have work in the morning, so let's wrap it up. And once again, thank you for joining, Bill. Thank you for watching, and we'll see
Thank
you
you.
next week.